Good evening and welcome to Showcase Live. Welcome to YouTube, LinkedIn, and the Twitter universe. My name is Michael Wardy. I'm a certified financial planner and regional director at Source Advisors. And normally with Showcase Live, if you've seen some of my previous broadcasts, it's been traditionally about bringing in and inviting in business owners and executives of companies and really businesses that want to showcase their products or their services. And that's my opportunity to interview, learn more about what their business is all about, and give our audience and members and subscribers a chance to, when the time comes, to ask questions. More recently, though, I've been thinking about doing something a little bit different than what I've done in the past. So tonight, on this beautiful, not quite snowy yet here in Chicago, Sunday evening, I'm actually doing a broadcast, more of a educational workshop, specifically on the research and development tax credit. Just so everybody knows, normally I have members that help me do my broadcasting, and they're answering questions and they're feeding stuff out. Tonight, I'm doing it all on my own. So I'm going to start out by saying, if it seems clunky, it's because I'm doing it all by myself versus having two other people supporting me. So just bear with me, and I welcome you to ask questions, send in comments. Any comments, questions, I will try and see them. I will try and get them up on the screen as much as I can. Again, I'm doing it live and I'm doing it on my own. A little bit different than what I've been used to in the past. So you're going to see my head moving back and forth. That's because I have three screens I'm trying to monitor and manage. And I'm excited about it. So no matter what, at least we're here. So thank you again for joining. Let me go ahead and start with, let's get over here. And what we are going to do, let me get this up here. There we go. So just to start out with, and again, as I mentioned, tonight's presentation, tonight's live broadcast is all about the research and development tax credit, specifically for manufacturers. And I've been in the industry for 15 years, and I still find it interesting that there are business owners and businesses that still think that the research and development tax credit is all about businesses that are making brand new products to the world. Those folks in the white lab coats, the ones that are doing patented work or patentable activities, brand new to the world, never before seen. That was all pre-2003, and that has since changed. And there's been a broadening of the definition, and that's what we're going to go over tonight, is what does that broadening of the definition look like for you as a manufacturer? Because that still does qualify. And the work that you're doing that's brand new to the world, patented activities or patentable activities, new products, new processes, that all brand new to the world, that still does qualify. But now there's been a change in the definition, and really it's come down to this broadening and what we define as the 4-part test for qualified research activities. And we'll touch on that. Just as an example, this is a client of ours, and it's a tool and die shop. They do a lot with process improvements, new products. They're out there bidding on jobs and quoting on jobs. And we estimated originally, and this was back in 2016, before we were engaged to do the work, we actually said your credits would be around $68,000, and they fell in line with that. And because of the work that they're doing, and they're bidding on new projects, they're coming up with new processes, new ways to be more competitive and innovative. All that work and time and resources dedicated, and they're continually growing in that fashion. Now their credits are right around $95,000 each year. That's each year. I'm going to pause here because I do want to make mention that the research and development tax credit is a credit off of taxes paid or owed. So whether you're a C corporation, S corporation, LLC, partnership, whatever it is, it'll flow through depending on what the structure of the corporation. But it is a tax credit off of taxes paid or owed from that entity. So it's real dollars back to you as a business owner or back to you as a business. Now, how is this company, a tool and die shop, able to claim the research and development tax credit? Well, based on the recent changes that took place back in 2003 when they were finalized, the credit really comes down to this 4-part test. And here's what the definition of R&D is all about. So anytime we're talking to a client, we're talking to a prospective client, and they say, does this qualify? We will, and anybody in our industry that specializes in the research and development tax credit, anytime they should all refer back to this 4-part test, because this is the definition of R&D. The research and development tax credit is a project-based credit, and it's annualized. So think about any one product that you're working on, a new development, a new idea, process improvements. If you take that project and you tie it into this 4-part test that we're looking at, therein lies R&D. So the first question that we ask is the work that you're doing, is it a permitted purpose? And what we're looking at there, is it a new product, a new process? Are you changing the reliability, the durability, the quality, the functionality? And when we talk about new, again, keep in mind, it's something that's new to you as a business. It no longer needs to be brand new to the world, never before seen. That's a big difference. And it's a big advantage for a lot of manufacturers that are out there. They're bidding on new jobs. They're bidding on new products. They're talking to customers. They're sitting across the desk from their customer. They're saying, hey, we know you do this and we can do it better from what your current provider is doing. That's your first part. So is it a permitted purpose, a new product, new process, new to you? The second question, is it technological in nature? And what we're talking about there are the hard sciences. Sorry about that. The hard sciences. So engineering, biology, chemistry, software development, computer software, computer sciences. Those are what we're looking at. So the hard sciences. So first question, is it new to you as a business, or is it an improvement to what your processes are? Are you dealing in the hard sciences? Now, the third and the fourth are really where the rubber's going to meet the road. So our third question, was there any elimination of uncertainty? And the fourth question, was there a process of experimentation? So what we're looking at there is, on the onset, did you know exactly what you were going to do? And you knew step by step, this is what we're going to do. And at the end of it, we're going to be done, and it's going to be exactly the way that we thought. If that's what's happening, you have no uncertainty. There is no process of experimentation. You really have no R&D. However, and I'll give you an example. Let's say one of your vice presidents of sales goes out, meets with a customer, and they say, hey, we see you guys are doing this. We can actually do it for you, and we can do it better. And the customer or prospective customer will say, sure, give me a quote. That vice president of sales then goes back and says to the engineering team, and we'll talk about this in a couple of seconds, look what I just told the customer that we can do, and we can do it better. And your engineering team may say, well, we've never done that before. We haven't done something exactly like that. So we're going to need to figure this out. Therein lies R&D. And then that process of experimentation is going to be the different iterations that you're going through, the different testings. We tried it one way, it didn't work. Tried another way, it didn't work. Finally, we got it to work. So again, going back to what this is all about, the research and development tax credit, a project-based credit that's annualized. And any one project that you're working on, we will always, everybody will tie it into this 4-part test, which is truly the definition of R&D. So now we know what qualifies. Let's take a look at where the expenses are coming in. The bulk of the credit, and we get this question a lot, what costs can we include? The bulk of the credit is going to come from wages, and it's going to be box 1 of the W-2 wages. This is on your federal side. Some states do also have the research and development tax credit that you can claim. But again, for the federal side, it's box 1 of the W-2 wages. And we'll talk about the individuals that you can include. And it's going to include anybody and everybody involved in the development or improvement of a product or process. The second component, any supplies or materials that are used or consumed in the process of the products or processes that are improved or new to you as a company. And then the third one, any outside contractors. We can capture 65% of their costs. So now we know what qualifies. We know where the costs are coming from. Now let's figure out who qualifies. This is always an interesting one because we get this question a lot of who do we include? And some businesses that we've spoken with, that are claiming the research and development tax credit in-house and are doing a great job, oftentimes they're forgetting a couple of individuals along the way. R&D starts at that first conversation, that initial idea, that first point where someone says, what about this? Can we do this? Hey, I just told our customer, or prospective customer, that we will deliver on this. If you haven't done it before, that's where R&D starts. And it's going to go all the way through, and you'll have your direct labor, your engineers, your production developers. They're going to be involved in it. Any support, any supervision, anybody that's, again, an integral part in the development or improvement of a product or a process, we can capture their time. We also see quite a bit of time on a lot of clients where the executives of companies will qualify for the research and development tax credit. In manufacturing, R&D goes up until the point of commercial production, because there's no longer that question of, can we do it? We did it. We're done. Now we're going to go into production, and that's where the research and development ends. Let's go through a quick example. So here's company A, and company A has a vice president of sales, and they go out and they meet with a customer. And like I said before, the customer says, hey, like what you're saying, great idea, give me a quote. VP of sales says, of course, I'll get it to you, because that's what business developers or salespeople, they say, of course we can do it, and yes, we'll get you a quote. And then what they do is they come back to the head of engineering. Look what I just promised. Now the engineers say, well, we're not quite sure how we're going to do this, but now that you've promised it, we're going to go ahead and figure it out. And so they go through their meetings and their drawings and their plans, and they figure out, can we do this or can we not do it? They eventually come up with a prototype. That prototype goes through quality control, and then they deliver it back to the customer for approval. Once we get to that point that the customer says, okay, this works, now you can move forward. Like I mentioned in the previous slide, R&D ends. Now, who we include in this, if we take out any one individual or group within that process, and if that process ends and doesn't get to the touchdown, then we know they need to be included in the process, and their cost and their time spent is qualified and can be includable in the calculation. I hope that gives some additional clarity and an understanding of what groups and what individuals can qualify. Again, if they're an integral part in the development or improvement of a product or process, we can include their time. Here's a client of ours that is a manufacturer and distribution, and I'm not going to walk through each different section, but just know that, again, in manufacturing, pretty much a lot of the work that they're doing in developing, improving process, coming up with new products, new processes, new techniques, from the technology and the digital side, all the way through traditional manufacturing, all that time spent and the resources dedicated can qualify for the research and development tax credit. This client in particular is a $40 million manufacturer. And after looking at the activities that they perform throughout the year on any given day, their credits are generating over $415,000 in tax credits. And again, this is real dollars that all of our clients are reinvesting back into their business. This is money that clients are coming back and saying, especially for 2021, after what's been going on over the past year or so, they're saying anywhere we can get additional cash flow, we want to see that and we want to take advantage of it. The R&D tax credit is one of the most lucrative tax credits and incentives available to businesses right now. It's absolutely worth it. If you haven't looked at it, you need to be looking at it. You need to get an understanding about it, and you should be pursuing it and claiming it if you haven't already been. Again, it's important to know if you qualify or not qualify, and that's what this presentation is all about, is making sure you at least have an understanding and an overview of, do you qualify or not. So the research and development tax credit has been around since 1981, I think it was. And it was always a temporary part of the tax code. Now, having been in the business for 16 years, there's a period of my life where if it didn't get extended, then I was going to have to go out and find a new job. In 2015, the PATH Act was signed. And a couple of major things took place for businesses. Number one, and this is important for me, is that the credit was made permanent. I was happy about that because that meant I didn't have to keep thinking about were they going to extend it or not. The second thing is that the credit for businesses less than $50 million in average annual gross receipts can now use the credit to offset alternative minimum taxes. That was a big deal for a lot of S corporations and flow-through entities where the shareholders and the members of the company were subject to the alternative minimum tax. It didn't mean that you couldn't claim the credit. What it did mean is that all you could do is carry it forward. There's not a lot of value if you can't claim the credit, especially in current environments, and even back before 2015. You couldn't use the credit, I should say. The third major change, and this has been a significant benefit and opportunity for startup businesses. For businesses less than 5 years in business and less than 5 million in gross receipts, you can now use the credit to offset payroll taxes. Think about that for a second. You're a startup business, 3 years in. The majority of your expenses are traditionally going to be payroll. If you could use the research and development tax credit right now to offset and utilize it, and you can use it to offset payroll taxes, why wouldn't you? This is a huge benefit for startup businesses, and it's a way to keep them going and keep them growing. Very important. Again, payroll tax offset for businesses less than 5 years in business and less than 5 million in gross receipts. Here's another example of a client of ours, plastic and injection molding company. Process starts with the customer. They build a prototype, engineering analysis, first articles. Their activities go on, and they're quoting on jobs every day, all day long. Each time they quote on a job could qualify for a research activity and ultimately lead to additional qualified expenses, will lead to a bigger and bigger research and development tax credit. This one ultimately allows the client to claim right around 100. In this example, for the year that we wrote this, they were claiming just over $105,000. But they've consistently been in that $100,000 of tax credits each year, every year. Let's go through some examples of what industries qualify. And I just want to see, hold on one second. There we go. What industries qualify? This is an interesting list because would I say that this is complete? No, because it will always go back to what are you doing inside your company? Could a distribution company claim the research and development tax credit? Could a trucking company claim and qualify for the research and development tax credit? Well, I'm going to say it every single time. It depends. What activities are they working on throughout the year? With trucking companies and distribution companies, we see a lot of activities on software development and customization in their systems. That time spent can qualify. Some other examples within this list that kind of stand out to me, first two, software development and manufacturing, all day long. Manufacturing is a broad category. So within you have the different subcategories. And each one of those, there's activities. I wouldn't question whether I have it or not, whether I have qualified research activities or not. I would say, are we doing anything that's new to us as a company? Has our business changed in the past 2 years or 3 years? And if it has, and part of that change is dealing in the hard sciences, engineering, software development, chemistry, biology, then more than likely you have research activities, qualified research activities, and it's worth digging down. The next question we get, let me get this over here. There we go. The next question we get is, so what does the credit mean? How much is it? The credit, and not going through the whole formula because there's two different methodologies that you can go through, three actually, if you want to consider the regular method, startup method, or the alternative simplified method. The credit really comes down to be about 5 to 6.5% of your qualified research activities. That at least gives you a better idea of, number one, are we doing the right activities? Number two, just as an idea, is it worth it or not to pursue? by no means would I say rely on this for tax purposes. I would never say just take 5 to 6.5% of what you would deem to be qualified research activities and expenses, put that on your tax returns. I would highly recommend having a professional look at that and delve in deeper into what are the qualifying activities and the related expenses, because there may be more than what you're thinking. But again, I would say between 5 to 6.5% of your qualified research expenses is a realistic range for you to consider. As I mentioned before, each state, I think there's 37 states that offer some type of research and development tax credit. And you could take a look at our website. I did not put it up here, but if you go to sourceadvisors.com and under the research and development tab, there's a state section. And so you can click on that or scroll all the way down on the research and development tab, and you'll see all the map of the United States. And then you can click on the different states and you can see what the credit is within that state. That's been a big benefit for a lot of companies and a lot of our clients because they just weren't sure. And before they became a client, we've had a number of businesses go on our website and take a look and see, does our state offer a credit? What is that credit? Can we claim it as well? Some other case studies that we've worked on for clients, and again, it ranges in size and it ranges in activities. Each business is unique unto itself. So it's important for you as a business to make sure that if you have qualified research activities, that you maximize those activities and related expenses to reinvest back into your business. This is an important year for many of us. And it's going to be a big benefit that if you haven't claimed the credit, or if you've been claiming the credit for a number of years, but you haven't had anybody look at it recently. There's been a lot of changes in the rules. And there are some things that people are not aware of that they should be aware of that will help create a bigger and a stronger benefit for them. One last case study. This is a manufacturer, chemistry of it's actually an interesting slide because it's not complete. But it's another manufacturer. They do testing. I apologize. That's my dog. Again, it is 8:30 in the evening, and our dog is just barking, just to bark. But this is a manufacturer. They do testing. They do steel testing. They do product development, development of machinery and different dyes. Ultimately, what they were able to claim is about $138,000 in annual credits. Now, the examples that I've shown you so far all seem to be in those higher credit amounts, $100,000, $138,000, $200,000, $400,000. A lot of our clients have those credits. That's not to say that if you don't have credits or qualified expenses less than $1 million or less than $2 million, that you shouldn't look at it. That's not the point of this message at all. The point of this message is that there's real dollars there. And we want you to be able to understand what that value is for you as a business. We would never say your credit is this without digging in and understanding what the potential benefit is for you. Again, I highly recommend that if you haven't looked at it or you're claiming it right now, that you have a professional like our firm, or if you have a firm that you're working with, reevaluate and take a look to see, are you maximizing your credits? I want to thank everyone that's joined us. And for those that are going to be looking at this and watching this later on, I appreciate your consideration. If you do have questions or you're just not sure, do we have R&D? Should we look at this? I highly, highly, highly recommend. Give me a call. That's my phone number. Email me. Let me know. I'm more than happy to sit down with you and talk with you further about this and see what the potential value and benefit can mean for you. I appreciate everyone's time. I wish you health and happiness in the week to come. And I will probably do another one next week. I'm just not sure on the topic yet. We'll have to wait and see. Enjoy your day and evening, everyone. Thank you.